Philadelphia did technically make a coaching hire over the weekend, but it wasn't the one we were all hoping for. As despite casting a very wide net for the next OC, fans really want one of two guys. However, sadly, this morning, the new reports on Daboll and Mike McDaniel are not going to be what you want to hear. Plus, why some fans think a certain former Eagles quarterback should also be getting a call, and yet another example of KP and Sirianni's incompetence just dropped this weekend. I'm Thomas Mott, this is the Thomas Mott Show. For a team that interviewed 0 outside OC candidates 1 season ago, Howie Roseman and I guess Nick Sirianni are rapidly trying to make amends, as the net being cast for their next play caller is about as far and wide as possible. And there are some very, very interesting names. Although also some names I personally think would be an absolute disaster. Sadly though, the two main options that I want more than the rest are possibly slipping right through the Birds' fingers as we speak. Well, the fan favorite is impossible technically, yet worth taking a look at the next couple of days. In the end though, Philadelphia did make their first domino of the coaching hire cycle over the weekend, but obviously it's not going to get you that excited. First, what should get you excited is this bad boy right here. It is the Jordan Spector art Philadelphia art piece with literally every single important player or moment right now in Philadelphia. We're going to give this bad boy away to one of you guys who is subscribed, drops a like on today's video, and comments "Go Birds" down below. This is the giveaway this week, and the winner is picked later on this weekend. Now, before we get to the offensive coordinator interviews, was I the only one over the weekend who watched the division round playoff games and felt even more angry at Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni for absolutely selling what I think was one of the easiest chances at a Super Bowl repeat in recent NFL history? Like, take Seattle out of the equation, and the 3 remaining teams left standing all have some serious major flaws. But even if we thought the Birds weren't cut out for a repeat because they did have plenty of flaws this season, the fact that they lost to the same 49er team, or specifically the same 49er defense who got obliterated 1 week later in Seattle, to me is the ultimate indictment on the Birds' offense in 2025. And just to make matters worse about the loss to the 49ers, how about Trent Williams, after getting absolutely obliterated by Seattle just a couple of days ago, going to the podium and basically gloating about beating the defending Super Bowl champs.
Being able to go in and knock off the defending world champs at their home, another tough game versus another great defense, and we made the plays, and tonight we just didn't make the plays. So it's nothing to hang your head over. Obviously nobody thought we would even be here, let alone thought we would win this game. So at the end of the day, we playing with house's money when you get to this point. You're playing with who we played with.
And then Trent Williams wasn't the only one still thinking about Philadelphia from last year. How about Matt Stafford? This is less than 24 hours ago, taking his own shot post-game at the Birds following his win over the Bears at Soldier Field.
Playoff football is about winning the football game. Played great through for a bunch of yards last year in the snow, and we lost. So I'm happy to have played a little bit worse today and going home with a win. So we'll take that.
Now, obviously, they can gloat because Philadelphia is out and at least the Rams are still in, but we have no one to blame but ourselves in the end. However, I could not help this weekend but watch the Rams struggle on offense, the Bears struggle on offense, the 49ers struggle on both offense and defense, and not sit there and go, my goodness, I am absolutely sick the Birds lost in the wildcard round. And I hope Nick Sirianni, Jeffrey Lurie, and obviously Howie Roseman feel the exact same way and take this feeling and turn it into a very productive offseason, and it begins with hiring a new offensive coordinator. One thing Philadelphia can hang their hat on, at least this morning, is that making a Super Bowl, let alone 2 of them in the past 5 years, it is not for everybody. The fact that Jalen Hurts won his before Josh Allen even made his first one is a testament to just how impressive Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Birds were in 2022 and 2024. And speaking of Jalen Hurts, this weekend was also a testament to just how good he had been in those said playoff runs in 2022 and 2024, because Josh Allen, for example, he posted 4 turnovers in his divisional round loss. CJ Stroud posted 4 picks on Sunday afternoon. He was absolutely terrible. Even Caleb Williams, less than 60% completion percentage, 3 critical interceptions, and also a loss to the Rams. Just imagine if Jalen Hurts himself had put up those numbers in a similar playoff loss. Also, I want to give a massive shout out to the sponsor of this video, SeatGeek, which of course, I know, it's depressing right now. The Eagles do not have another playoff game, and so you can't go buy SeatGeek playoff tickets right now for the Philadelphia Eagles. But if you want tickets to the big game in February, or better yet, other Philadelphia sporting events, SeatGeek is 100% your place to go. And of course, if you're watching right now, anybody can use my code MOTT10 and get 10% off any of those tickets when you purchase with SeatGeek. And the best part is, my code works whether you're a new customer or not. And so, of course, plenty of ticket options. You can go Phillies, you can go Flyers, you can go 76ers. You can also go non-sporting events as well. Take the wife to a comedy show, to a concert. SeatGeek has over 75,000 listed events. And as usual, use their SeatGeek rating scale from 1 to 10 to find the best deals on all of your ticketing options. Look for the green dot. It's that simple. Green is good. Yellow, not so good. Red, they're probably a little too expensive. And getting tickets and using my code, super simple, especially on the SeatGeek app. So download the SeatGeek app, add my promo code MOTT10 to your account, and it will automatically add the 10% off whenever you buy tickets. It's all linked down below. Download the app, use SeatGeek, use my code, tell them I sent you, and I know, Eagle tickets, you can't get them right now, get them in the future, but get the other non-Eagle event tickets today. Oh, and the bow on all of that is a former Eagle quarterback, not named Jalen Hurts, but also one who won a Super Bowl, had what I think was a top 3, maybe top 2 ultimate NFL troll tweet of all time. None other than Nick Foles tweeted yesterday, quote, "No for the Broncos and their fans. I know it's been an emotional 24 hours. I feel for Bo and the team, and I'm sending prayers for a strong recovery. A positive note going into the game versus the Patriots is that they struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship-type games." Come on, that's brilliant. That's classic Nick Foles. That's why we love him. And it's also why I think a lot of Eagle fans have been begging Philadelphia the past couple of weeks to actually interview Nick Foles for the offensive coordinator job, because they've been watching his film breakdowns and his podcast talking about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense the past couple of weeks. And when you watch it, you probably come to the same conclusion. Why not give Nicky Six a call?
I want to see Jalen more
participating in the discussion.
Aggressive with it. Let me tell you this from a quarterback's perspective, because that's what people want to hear. In these moments, these are big moments in games. These are season-defining moments. I guarantee you, every single time I was in a season-defining, stressful moment, I had a play that I wanted called.
I can think of one in particular. If you want to give an example.
Let's go to the example. It's like, okay, the Philly special is for sure that. Hey, then let's go the next year against the Chicago Bears in the playoff game on 4th and 1. I went up to Doug. I wanted Q8 because we had the formation, kill 34W, boom, boom, boom. They were doing 0-0 hole. It was too hard to see. I said, I'm just calling Q8. We're just gonna live and die with Q8. We're gonna go on the run. Golden's gonna win. We're running Q8. In this moment, as a quarterback, you have plays, and as an offensive coordinator, to head coach, you can suggest a play. But when you call a timeout and you're discussing everything on the sidelines, I'm asking my quarterback, what do you like right here? Here's the call sheet. Because that's what the coaches would do with me. When I was on teams where I was a leader and it was like a high-functioning offense and I was excelling, they'd be like, hey, what do you like? What do you want to call? Chicago Bears, when I played the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Nagy, when he threw me in the third quarter or fourth quarter, he's like, you just call all the plays, everything you want. I called the rest of the game for the most part as a quarterback. And this would be my challenge going into the next season. And this is Jalen Hurts' next step. They're going to have to, in off-season training, when they get together and do practices, they're going to have Jalen call it periods where, hey, Jalen, it's you. Hey, we'll give you, if you want a call sheet, have a call sheet. Or if you want to run a play in no huddle, you call the 2-minute. They might already be doing this, but I think the next step in his progression, I think he's great when they call plays and he runs plays and they're on the same page. He's shown that. He's a Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP. I believe Jalen Hurts can be even better and better and better and better.
Now, sadly, Philadelphia has given us zero indication that they're actually looking at Foles so far. I mean, he hasn't called plays in his career ever as an offensive coordinator, and he doesn't fit the mold of an experienced play caller the Birds reportedly are looking for. Again, that wouldn't stop me. I would call him. For those wondering right now, the chances of number 9 coming to Philadelphia to be the OC are next to 0. And that's a bummer, but it does lead well into the current Eagles offensive coordinator situation, which is rapidly changing. It might change by the time you watch this video, but here's where we stand. Let's go through the candidates, the interviews that they've taken or will be taking, and we'll start with the bad news because you're not going to like where Philadelphia is at with Daboll and Mike McDaniel. And it all began this morning, really out of Buffalo, with the news that head coach Sean McDermott has officially been fired. And now the replacement, reportedly in the catbird seat, is none other than Brian Daboll. The same Brian Daboll who Philadelphia officially requested an interview with for sometime later this week. And just a couple of days ago, the reports were indicating he would get an extended look from the Birds, leading many fans, including myself, to believe that he was probably the top candidate on the market due to his relationship with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni in Philadelphia. However, Diana Rossini all but confirmed a couple of hours ago that because the Bills' head coaching opening is now available, she's been talking to NFL executives. It looks like the name that keeps coming up is a familiar one. It's Buffalo native and someone Josh Allen loves in Brian Daboll. And so we connect the dots, and it sure seems like Brian Daboll is going to be the number 1 option right now in Buffalo. Could it change? Sure. Will Philadelphia still interview him, get an extended look next couple of days? I think so. But if you're offered an offensive coordinator job, or maybe the best opening right now, and Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills to be a head coach, the money's different, control's different. It sure seems like, and things can change, let's just emphasize that Brian Daboll and Philadelphia took a very, very hard loss today. I'm thinking he's probably out. And sadly, the same appears to be true for my other top OC candidate in Mike McDaniel. Reportedly, will speak to the Eagles. That was announced a couple of days ago. At least was planning on it until Albert Breer announced yesterday he is the frontrunner for the Bucs offensive coordinator job, in part due to a potential under-the-table handshake of replacing Todd Bowles down the line to be their next head coach. And again, nothing is set in stone. I do think, just like with Brian Daboll, Mike McDaniel will interview in Philadelphia, but it does appear like the main reason why the Birds are casting such a wide net for all these other candidates, we'll talk about here in a second, is because Brian Daboll and Mike McDaniel, their top two options, might not be available very, very soon. And so let's go through all the candidates reportedly, as of today, Monday, who have either interviewed already with Philadelphia or are about to. Starting with what I think is the worst option, no offense here, but in my opinion, former Giants offensive coordinator and their most recent interim head coach in Mike Kafka. Now, Kafka has quarterback experience, which includes in Philadelphia, kind of funny there, but he lacks the play calling until very recently. And really, did anyone see any improvement in the Giants offense this past season with Kafka at the helm or with Brian Daboll? I watched Hard Knocks, and Kafka with Jackson Dart did not do anything with me to go ahead and move the needle. This would be a very disappointing hire, in my opinion. Now, technically, he is of Puerto Rican descent. Maybe he's just a Rooney Rule interview. I don't know. But my overall feeling on Mike Kafka is absolutely no thanks. Next in line, how about the Eagles reportedly interviewing Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter the past couple of days? Now, Cooter was an offensive consultant, we forget this, for Philadelphia in 2021, and then went on to be the Jags passing game coordinator in 2022 with Doug Peterson, and then the past 2 seasons, the Colts offensive coordinator under Shane Steichen. A very hot name a couple of years ago. It's definitely cool the past couple of seasons. My big problem, though, is that he's never actually called plays. But I guess the thinking here is that he learned a lot under Shane Steichen in Indy the past 2 seasons, so Philadelphia would hope that he's the next version of Shane. It's a tough sell, but I get the idea. Moving on, we have another confirmed interview, and that was the Falcons offensive coordinator this past season, and Zac Robinson, who I immediately saw a lot of people on Twitter kind of poo-pooing this over the weekend, but I think he actually fits a lot of what the Birds are looking for. For example, someone who's actually called plays, checks that box, and 2, called a lot of the plays that we've been wanting the Eagles to use with Jalen Hurts this past season, as Atlanta was number 1 in the entire NFL in motion rate, pretty crazy in 2025, and also put Penix and then Cousins under center at a much higher rate than KP did with Jalen Hurts. He also had Atlanta's running game firing on all cylinders this season. My goodness, they were great on the ground. We forget about, which is very important for Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley, and their look for a new OC. Robinson's main problem is that he was fired. He was a one-and-done offensive coordinator. When we look back at Kevin Patullo, also one-and-done. That has a lot of Eagle fans hesitant, and I get it. However, as I mentioned, he does a lot of the things Philadelphia is looking for, and I do think the circumstances in Atlanta, Raheem Morris, the head coach, the quarterback issues, that might have played a bigger role overall, and the Falcons were actually playing pretty well the final half, or the final, I'd say, quarter of the NFL season. Could they do better than Zac Robinson? For sure. Could they do a lot worse than Zac Robinson? 100%. I think he's better than Jim Bob Cooter and certainly Mike Kafka. I don't think he's better than the next interview that Philadelphia reportedly have, and that was with Bucs offensive coordinator Josh Gizzard over the weekend. And the knock here is very simple because he replaced Liam Cohn as the Tampa OC this past season, and the Bucs offense went down in every single major statistical category. Not a good look. He was also, just like Ken Patullo, an internal hire with 0 OC experience. Again, certainly an option, but very down on my list, not somebody I'm interested in. And that leads me to the final coach that Philadelphia has requested an interview with, or I guess technically interviewed. It's always hazy on when they've actually met with these people, but that is actually Bobby Slowik, a name you might recognize, we'll talk about, but someone I see as very high risk, also very high reward, and it kind of makes me a little bit intrigued. You probably remember Slowik from his meteoric rise as one of the young offensive geniuses in the NFL because he was the play caller and offensive coordinator for rookie C.J. Stroud in Houston. And if you remember, rookie C.J. Stroud in Houston was absolutely fantastic. A lot of people thought he would get really a head coaching offer after that one season. He turned them all down, though, and came back to Houston, which really was to his detriment. C.J. Stroud eventually became terrible, as we know. He got fired, and this past season, Slowik went on to be Mike McDaniel's passing game coordinator with the Miami Dolphins. So technically, you do get the McDaniel pedigree, or at least the McDaniel disciple, if you can't get Mike McDaniel himself. And of course, the knock on Bobby Slowik is that he had one good season in Houston, but I've watched C.J. Stroud the past 3 seasons and not been good. I'm starting to think it was more of a Stroud problem versus a Slowik problem, and that's kind of the situation why it's risk-reward. For instance, there's the famous report of Slowik yelling at C.J. Stroud in a meeting for being too complacent and not wanting to change. AKA, I see that as coaching a young quarterback hard, which I love. We could use that in Philadelphia. And I also think he has a ton to prove and has a chip on his shoulder and could definitely try and, rise back to the top of coaching ranks in Philadelphia with Jalen Hurts. That, however, right now is the list. Now, Philadelphia, I'm sure, will interview more people. We'll hear more names the next couple of days. Subscribe for that. But as it currently stands, I have Zac Robinson and Slowik as 1 and 2, assuming no Daboll and Mike McDaniel, which I think right now is a very safe assumption. Then Jim Bob Cooter, and then you get kind of down to, the Gizzards of the world. And then obviously you go all the way down to Mike Kafka. But I do think they have 2 decent candidates who they've interviewed or are talking to. Will they interview more? Well, that remains to be seen. Now, offensive coordinator hires aside, and Philadelphia technically did make their first official coaching hire, or I guess move, over the weekend, as they agreed to a contract extension with special teams coordinator Michael Clay. According to Ian Rappaport, drew significant interest from around the league, interviewed with the Bucs, but elected to stay home. A few years back, Clay was considered a young and up-and-coming coach with a bright future as maybe a head coach in the National Football League. But then kind of a lackluster 2024 season helped cool that fire a little bit for arguably what I thought was a great 2025. Minus whatever the heck Jake Elliott was doing, but can you blame Michael Clay? I wouldn't. Clay's biggest problem, though, is that he's a special teams guy. There's not many teams are looking to make him their offensive coordinator. I think is why he realized the past 2 weeks, after taking some interviews around the NFL, that staying in Philadelphia makes the most sense. And again, minus the missed kicks from Jake Elliott, Brady Man was fantastic. I thought they started to kind of figure out kick return, although they could really use a Rashid Shaheed, right? Kick return in the NFL is very difficult. Their kick coverage has been pretty good. Their punt coverage has been pretty good. Special teams overall has been great. I like Michael Clay coming back. It's just not the move we all were hoping for. There is, however, 2 final bits of promising news just a couple of hours ago that I am keeping an eye on in terms of the OC job. First is that former Ravens OC, Todd Monken, reportedly going to join the Giants and John Harbaugh in New York, has not signed yet and is instead still interviewing a second time with the Browns for their head coaching job, which I think he has a very good chance of getting. But if Monken somehow does not get a head coaching position, I bet Howie and company would call him as fast as humanly possible. And the same also applies now for current, see how long it stands, Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady, who could easily be an internal promotion to replace Sean McDermott. But if Brian Daboll, as mentioned, is hired to be the head coach, Brady could 100% hit the open market. And like Monken, I would rush to call him in as fast as humanly possible because despite all of the Buffalo Bills' issues, Brady has overseen Josh Allen's growth in dramatic fashion to NFL MVP. Certainly, I think, a great young offensive mind that I would not mind mentoring Jalen Hurts. Again, both long shots. A lot's going to change in the next 72 hours. Prepare yourself, but keep an eye on Monken and Brady if McDaniel and Daboll were to fall through. And that's really where I'm at today, but I also want to emphasize a lot is going to change. And the problem is now you still have, 8, 9 head coach openings that are available, and a lot of these people, like Daboll, like Mike McDaniel, like Monken, maybe Joe Brady, are waiting to see if they get a head coaching job because the money and power is so much different. An offensive coordinator could make $1, $2, $3 million a year. A head coach could make $10, $15, $20 million a year. It's a massive, massive difference. And so I thought Philadelphia was going to try and hire somebody as soon as possible. They might not even hire somebody this week. This week could simply be interview some of the fringe guys, Jim Bob Cooter, Bobby Slowik, and then sit back and wait. Wait for all the head coaching opportunities to fill up, and then make your move with whoever's remaining. So just get ready. It's going to be very, very interesting. I'll cover it here. If they hire somebody magically today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, I will 100% do a live and jump on, so subscribe. But we'll see. It's been crazy. It's been definitely interesting. And I just hope they make the right decision and get somebody who can turn Jalen Hurts, what he was with Kevin Patullo, back into MVP Super Bowl caliber form. It's possible. They have got to get the right guy. However, now, again, plenty more stuff happening next couple of days and weeks. Get your entry in for the Jordan Spector art giveaway happening Friday, Saturday show later on this week. But comment go birds down below and drop a like. I'm Thomas Mott. It's going to be very interesting. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.